Are you ready to learn how to choose your acupuncture school? Today we're going to go over 6 things that you must consider before you choose your school. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly the steps that you need to take and what you need to consider in order to feel super confident in the school that you choose. Who's ready to go to acupuncture school? I'm Alyssa Dazet, the 6-figure acupuncturist, and I went from broke and struggling and almost giving up in my practice to 6-figure year after year after year. And now I've helped thousands of acupuncturists all around the world with the success of their practices, and now I'm going to help you too. If you're ready for the best practice building advice, be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel and make sure that if you're grateful for the information you find here, hit that like button below, leave me comments below, because that helps to spread this information to more acupuncturists to help raise our profession. So you're ready to go to acupuncture school, and that's super exciting, but there are so many schools. How are you supposed to pick which one? We're going to be talking about the simplest things to consider all the way into the very technical things to consider. Each of these 6 points is super important, so make sure that you watch until the very end to get it all. The first thing to consider when choosing an acupuncture school is, how does it feel? For any school that you're considering attending, be sure that you take the time and make a trip if you need to visit that school. Does it feel bright? Does it feel welcoming? Do the students look happy? How do the classrooms feel? How does the intern clinic feel? Who are you talking to? How are they explaining things to you? Tune in to your surroundings. Tune in to how people are treating you. Tune in to what everyone around you looks like, and tune in to how you feel. Making sure that you feel good in the space that you're about to spend at least the next 4 years in is so important. Our physical feelings are one of the most important guidance systems of our lives, which often get ignored. If you visit a school and you feel any type of resistance at all, like a physical tightness in your chest, don't ignore that. That is your intuition talking to you. That is the universe talking to you. Something's going on there that you don't want to ignore. When you practice how to use your feelings as a navigation system through life, you will never go wrong. The second thing that you want to consider when choosing an acupuncture school is the location of the school. Now, yes, you want to make sure that you choose a school in a state and weather environment that you enjoy. Don't go to somewhere where it's cold and snowy if you are not a cold and snowy person. You'll be miserable, says the California girl. I'm a cold weather wussy now, even though I grew up in snowy New Hampshire. Although the weather might be an important thing, this is not why I brought up the location of the school. It is very important to consider the location of your school, because opening up a practice in the same city your school is in is a great idea. And this is because while you're in school, you actually can start to build relationships to cultivate a patient base. A busy, successful word-of-mouth practice is built on a foundation of relationships. So when you're in school, you can actually start to do this. That means when you graduate, you will already have tons of people that cannot wait to become your patient. When I was in grad school, this was my gym. I was at that gym the entire 4 years that I was in grad school. Not only did everyone become my friends, but they knew that I was studying to be an acupuncturist. They became my patients when I was interning, and then they became my patients when I opened my first practice. Now, there's a lot more that goes into successful practice building than simply relationships. There are systems and scripts that you need to know in order to get your patients to come back in for the correct amount of treatments. For the first 2 years in my practice, I had all these relationships and all these friends, but I didn't understand the systems of a successful practice. These are the systems that you can learn in my 6-figure acupuncturist program. But starting with relationship building while you're in school through the communities that you're involved in will 100% accelerate your success once you graduate. So it's very important to think about going to school in the location that you want to practice. The third thing to consider when picking an acupuncture school is the cost of living in that area. When I was in acupuncture school, I knew nothing about money. Up until that point in my life, I had primarily been a waitress. I didn't understand anything about credit cards, about debt, and certainly did not understand student loans. So when I was in grad school, I was waitressing the whole time, but as my program became more and more demanding, I waitressed less and less. And I supplemented my income by taking out more and more and more loans. I'm pretty sure I took out the max amount of loans every chance I could. At that point, it wasn't registering to me that this was real money, and I would actually have to pay this back at some point. So I worked less and I took out more loans. Now, if I could go back and change something from when I was in grad school, I would work more and I would take out less loans. And maybe that would add on 1 or 2 more years to how long it took me to graduate. But looking back with what I know now, I would have absolutely done that. So consider the cost of living where you're looking at going to school, because most students need to take out loans in order to supplement their income. And the less loans that you can take out, the better. Do everything that you can to lower your cost of living while you are in school. Fourth thing to consider before choosing your acupuncture school is your college a California accredited school? Now, California accredited schools are not only located in California. You can actually find California accredited schools across the nation. Now, why is this important? A California accredited acupuncture school is known to be some of the top acupuncture schools out there. Now, I'm not knocking any of the acupuncture schools, but California accredited schools are on a different level. One of the main reasons being the amount of hours that are needed to graduate. All California accredited schools require at least 3,000 hours in order for you to graduate. They also require you to take acupuncture and herbs. Now, comparing that to an NCCAOM accredited school, NCCAOM allows you to take acupuncture and herbs or simply an acupuncture program. For the sake of comparison, an NCCAOM acupuncture and herbs program only requires 2,625 hours. That's a significant difference. And an even greater significant difference comes up in the required supervised clinic hours. A California accredited school requires 950 supervised clinic interning hours, while an NCCAOM accredited school only requires 660 supervised clinic intern hours. That's about 300 more hours as an intern. That's a lot more patients that you're treating. That is significant. The other thing that comes up a lot is that the California licensing exam is known to be more challenging than the NCCAOM licensing exam. As someone who has both of those licenses, I would definitely agree with that. that. Now again, this does not mean that NCCOM accredited acupuncture schools are not good schools, but it's just something to consider and to take into account as you choose which school that you want to go to. I feel super grateful that I went to a California school, that I had thousands of hours of education and hundreds of hours of clinical interning experience. When I came into the workforce as an acupuncturist, I can honestly say that I felt prepared with my TCM knowledge and my clinical experience that I had gained through school. Now, being prepared with how to run a successful business, that was a whole other story. But my TCM knowledge, in order to find out which schools are California accredited, you can find a list on the California Acupuncture Board website. I'll put a link to the list down below this video. The fifth thing to consider when choosing an acupuncture school is test scores. What is that school's average pass rate on the licensure exam? That can be pretty telling of what type of education that you're going to receive at that school. You'll be able to find the pass rate on most acupuncture school websites. And if you can't find it on the website, just make sure that you ask someone in the admin of the school. Also, if you need any support preparing for any of your licensing exams, I highly recommend tcmreview.com. And before we get into the final thing to consider before choosing an acupuncture school, let me know in the comments which acupuncture school did you go to and how did you choose your school? Let's support and mentor future acupuncture students by giving them our advice and experience in the comments. The sixth and final thing to consider when choosing an acupuncture school is the accreditation of that school. Something that you want to be sure that you check is how long has your school been running and are they in good accreditation status. You can find this information on the Accreditation Commission for Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine website. I'll also link this below this video. On this website, you'll find a link of all the accredited schools or potentially accredited schools. You'll be able to find the school that you're interested in, look it up on a list, and then check the notes of the school. This area will tell you when was the school established, what years was it accredited and re-accredited, and if it ever has been or is currently on probation. This is great information to know so you understand the professionalism and educational status of your school. If a school has a history of going on probation several times, you might want to reconsider that choice. Now that you know the 6 things that you must consider when choosing an acupuncture school, don't wait until you've graduated to start learning how to build your successful dream practice. One of the best times to join my 6-figure acupuncture program is when you're still in school. There are so many scripts and mindsets and systems that you can practice while you're still studying. Not to mention building your community, relationship, and connections like we talked about earlier. When you learn how to build a successful practice when you're still in school, you can skip the struggle phase completely and shoot yourself straight to success. I've had more than one student take my program when in school and their first year is a 6-figure year. Like Robert here. So join the program, join the 6-figure family at 6figureacupuncturist.com/6figureacupuncturist. Skip the struggle and go straight to success. If you like this video, give it a like, give it a comment, and share it with an acupuncture buddy, because community is what we're creating to help our profession prosper. And be sure to check out this video next for 3 things I'd do differently if I went back to acupuncture school. I love you and keep healing the world.